Hello and welcome to another Coffee with Developers Live. We're here live from my kitchen and Dan from his fancy room. And yeah, we have a show planned today with a few less links than before and none of the planned things because we have a guest that we wanted to do a longer chat with. So first of all, Dan, how are you doing? And how is life without Cloudflare, without ChatGPT for you?
I survived. Yeah. I mean, we were just talking before the show, weren't we? That I mean, it was yesterday for context when everything kind of went down, and neither of us really realized. I had a lot of sympathy though for our product team because I was trying to just upload a blog and things were down, and I knew it wasn't our issue because I'm sure you saw in a lot of places you could actually see the chain on the page where it would show that it was Cloudflare in the middle that was unfortunately out. Do we know what caused it though, or are we going to get into that later?
Well, they announced that it was like a bot detection thing that went wrong, and basically, I guess, infinite loop kind of stuff. But what confused me was like that instead of just giving me the live server, then like it was always like the site is live, I am live. In between, it's like the Amsterdam or the London server that doesn't do anything from Cloudflare. But I guess if you use Cloudflare for your product, you want it as a firewall, like to do the DDoS protection. So basically, when it goes down, opening it, that would basically mean that the traffic that would normally go to Cloudflare would go to your site. And
Yeah.
I mean, the amount of data that goes through the DDoS attacks these days. I mean, Microsoft just defended one with 25 terabyte a second or something like that, and it's completely bonkers. Like there's just no way a normal server can withstand that kind of stuff.
And I mean, you'll know better than I will, Chris. I mean, and I don't know if it's just because of the fact we do this show every week that, we see all these big outages, but it seems like they are extremely well orchestrated, massive scale, and quite successful. There seems to be a lot of like these big sites. I mean, you said it was Microsoft, but there was another one recently. I can't think what it was now, but yeah, there's a few that have gone down, and they seem to be quite successful. And so I don't know if it's happening more regularly, or we just hear about it more because of when it does affect us. It affects things like you say, Claude and ChatGPT, and everybody's kind of married to those now. So I don't know what it is. Is it more regular or not?
I think it's more reported. There's more transparency by the companies doing it. In the past, we had like more bot traffic, and of course, there's more state-sponsored stuff. There's also the other big news item was, of course, the bit where Anthropic said that they defended against a Chinese attack and released a PDF paper about it, explaining everything. And a lot of experts said like, there's not much meat in that paper. It feels like that there is a controversy if it's true or not. And I find that there wasn't in the past a benefit of saying like we've done it, and now a lot of companies are being more transparent about what they do and show how the sausage is made to basically say, okay, here's outages and here's why. And I find that actually interesting to look at, but at the same time, it makes you feel like there's more happening. But I guess that's also the problem with social media. We look at like the statistics of crime, for example, and it actually is declining everywhere. There's a lot less crime than there was in the 90s and the 2000s. But as it's reported as it happens, or like made up as it happens as well, then basically it seems like that everything is much more horrible than it used to be. And it's not. It's just when it happens, it's more immediately, and everybody gets the information about it.
Yeah.
Well, talking about that, like I mean, searching and finding information. I'm very excited that we have a guest today who is Simon Cox, and he's an SEO expert. And I found it very interesting to just get you involved a bit because I'm so disillusioned by the web lately, and especially by search lately, that it just drives me nuts. And I just wanted to have like a longer conversation at this live show about what SEO means, what GEO means, the generative engine optimization, what we can do. But I'm so disappointed about things not happening. To give an example, our dishwasher went down, and basically it started beeping and blinking, and I'm like, okay, that's not good. And then it started seeping water. That's even worse. So I was basically spending an evening under the sink and trying to disconnect things and connect things. And of course, the screws were always on the wrong side of the clasp and these kind of bits. And then I'm like, okay, so I asked my partner where the manual for the thing is. And of course, it's somewhere thrown away immediately after we bought it with the thing. Then I was looking for a manual for the washing machine, and I looked at the type, and I looked at the company name, and I was looking at a PDF for a PDF or EPUB or whatever. And back in the days, at least you found a pirated one somewhere, or back in the days, also companies offered those on their website to download. But nowadays, it's basically nothing. Like I could not find anything. You type in the name of the thing, the product name, and you get like, oh, you might like these machines as well. And you're like, no, I was specifically looking for that one thing, and not the one that you get money for showing me as an ad. And then I saw these YouTube videos as well that basically are not even giving information, but just like 5 tips what to do with your washing machine, with your dishwasher. And the first thing was like, make sure that it's connected to the power and actually has electricity. And I'm like, yeah. I said my search query was, what is going on if that light blinks and it makes a sound? That normally takes electricity. So the first step of checking if electricity is there was completely pointless. And it was a 5-minute video with lots of emoji and no information whatsoever that was relevant to me. But it was the thing that Google research or Bing also gave back to me as the first thing. Are we in a world where we basically have to reconsider that the web is not the resource, but keep the paper manuals instead? Do you think there is a way out? I mean, I always fancied myself as a really good searcher on the web, but it seems like my old tricks with like quotes around it and plus and minus in front of things don't make any sense any longer. Are we in a post-search world already? What do you say, Simon?
Yes. I mean, this is the same. I consider myself a power searcher as well, and I have the same problems. And it's because the internet has become so pervasive in our communications around the world that everybody is grifting their stuff onto it, and it's not surprising. There's always a follow the money. And it is difficult to find those things like manuals and what have you. I would suggest if you do find one, save it as a PDF on somewhere locally, so you've got it and you can search for it on your machine, etc. That's what I do. What I do find a lot is that if you go into an AI tool, ChatGPT or ChattyJeeps as I call it, and put those longer strings of what you're asking, you're more likely to get a better answer now than you would through a search engine. And I find that very interesting from 2 points of view. One, I'm getting the information I need because something's analyzed it and gone and found the right answers to it. But also that people are not understanding how to change their websites to actually be there for these types of searches. They're long tail searches, what we used to call still called long tail searches. A long tail searches are very interesting in search because people are much more definitive about what they're searching for. And you will see in the tools, the SEO tools, that long tail searches don't get much volume. So people tend to ignore them. But actually, they're the ones that are more likely to convert on your website and bring you money, which is basically what everybody's there to do for search, other than the short-term ones. So yeah, the landscape's changed immensely. People are finding it more difficult to search exactly what they want because there's so much more information out there. So yeah,
and
it's changed.
It's so depressing because you give a search term and you give it. I mean, you give it an IBAN number or you give it like the number of the product, and you still get something else offered to you. Instead of just being honest and saying like, I got nothing, I'm sorry, that would be much nicer to have. But there were lots of fake websites as well with manuals that basically just then gave you the first page, and then you actually had to go to like one of the file lockers to download the rest of the PDF, and that was just a pop-up window after pop-up window with like casinos and these kind of things. But Longtail was always the one where black hat SEO people basically shine because that's where the money was, right? Like trying to beat Google or beat Amazon on the main products was not a thing, but I remember we had at Yahoo, we had an internal SEO person, and he made a lot of money with like fridge comparison website, like fridges and these kind of things. So that long tail stuff was always where the money was for people, grifters, as you say. And that seems to be still the case. Like if you go down deep down the rabbit hole, then you basically will still find these comparison websites.
You will, yes. It's all about the intent. And it always has been about the intent, but it's got much more complex now because marketeers around the world, not just SEO people, marketeers are pushing their products and all the time trying to optimize for those things. So people will be putting in the code, machine codes onto their website. So when people search for that, because a lot, for a washing machine, lots of people have the same model number. So yeah, so that's a good market for somebody to get out there and market whatever they're doing. So I was reading someone a couple of weeks ago about a guy in Serbia who welds internal bits of washing machines back together because you can't buy them off the shelf, or rather you can buy them off the shelf to replace the drum in a washing machine, but it's like 3/4 of the price of a new washing machine. So people don't buy the bits. So that would be a good thing to aim for. If the Serbian guy, you won't find him on the internet, of course, because all the washing machine manufacturers will be marketing their stuff to make sure they're at the top of the SERPs rather than the guy in Serbia who welds them back together.
Reminds me of that Russian dude that was basically showing that printers had this fixed date when it says like the nozzle is broken. So he welded over that chip and basically put a cable over it, and then his printer was running for like 10 years without saying like you need to replace any of the parts that weren't broken. That was like an inbuilt obsolescence in printers.
I love that. I'm very much in the repair stuff. I'm old, so I grew up repairing stuff, but when we could repair things, and I'm very, very in favour of that. So yes, and I don't suppose the printer manufacturers would care if people are soldering stuff across, because it's not going to be many. Most people don't have to use a soldering iron anymore.
There's a resurgence of that. There's lots of like repair cafes popping up these days, and I find that really cool. I mean, we had the pirate party here in Berlin that had one of those that basically people could bring stuff and they repair it for them, and it was like old pensioners with their alarm clock from 1947 or something, and it was just really cool because all the stuff they brought could get repaired as well, but most of the stuff you can't even repair anymore. That's the other thing, of course.
Well, of course, in the UK, the repair shops become a massive hit, and people love seeing that craft. In a world, excuse me, in a world where you've got, especially now with AIs and mass manufacturing, people having a skill in the craft is a special thing, and it's not. You haven't got those sorts of people everywhere anymore. You've only got a handful of them, but having those skills, etc., keeps you in a job. And no doubt we'll talk about this later, but AI isn't going to kill everything. It's not going to kill the search. It's not going to kill the web. We've still got print. The internet was meant to kill print off back in 2000 when the .com bubble burst. Everybody said print's dead. It's all going to be online. Huge amounts is online, but print is still there and it's still going very, very strong. And likewise, search is still going to be going strong, and AI won't kill it off. It will change the landscape over the next 2 or 3 years immensely. But yeah, I like repair shops.
I kind of challenge that because I actually find it a very bizarre. I came from traditional media. I worked at radio, and then we had television, and we basically then the internet came, and then people say we have interactive television. And to me, interactive television is something like Black Mirror, where how I interact with it, the TV show changes. Not like just like okay, interactive TV is just like you can stream stuff instead of waiting for stuff on your telly. But now we turn the internet into television. Like everything is a subscription. Everything is basically you have to get access somehow. And it feels to me like the open web of like the random stuff being able to just publish something and it will be found by people 5 weeks later, not happening anymore. And it was like that. It used to be like 2-3 months before people found your things. Okay. We got no battery on that one. Let's turn on the other one too. I planned, look at that. I got a second one. So it took weeks to do it, then it was days, and for Google to index it, and then all of a sudden now we're in a world where now you can't get in because you don't know. As you said, like if you go to ChatGPT and you ask it for that manual, if it hadn't indexed it, you wouldn't know. It's like we had a chance to invite bots to index our stuff. Nowadays, bots are going around the web, but we don't know where they are and what they index, and there is no transparency there. Do you think that's going to be changing? Because it feels to me like that a lot of companies. It feels to me that a lot of companies don't want that. And I've got to put a cable in those things now.
Well, there's lots of things going on there. It's a very fast-moving situation at the moment. It has been for the last year or so, and really, AI and AI search is still at its infancy. So when I'll take task with it, Chris. I think you can still write something on a website and then get it indexed within hours if you're doing it right. But the question is, will people find it? And most of the time, people are writing stuff that isn't being found because there are better things on the web that answer that thing that somebody's put out there. And a good example of this, there were quite a few sites that used to give things like the time. So you look up world time and go to the website and see what the time is elsewhere. You can do that directly in Google now, and that a lot of people complained about that you can get things like time, temperature, IP addresses, etc., directly from Google. So people weren't going to their websites, and therefore they weren't making money. So lots of complaints about that. And I think the thing for the future is what you write and what you put on your website used to be unique and something that people want to read, and not just a copy of other stuff elsewhere. And if you're doing that, you're going to get traffic. You're going to get people, and you build your brand, and you're going to get people coming for that.
I mean, it's interesting though, because I feel like when did this all start? You know, in terms of me and Chris, you know, we've talked a little bit about things like net neutrality, and when that was sort of a big, you know, discussion for debate. A lot of that was about whoever can grift the most or pay the most goes to the front of the queue. And it feels like, you know, we've got this, like you're saying there, that if we make good, valuable content, somebody will find it. But is that just a sort of, you know, like winning the lottery? Like we hope that happens because the quantity of the people that are paying to be at the front of the line are so huge. Or is it something that, is this just because of AI? Is it because, like you're saying, people can pay to be the front of the AI line? But, you know, is it a new phenomenon or not?
No, it's not. It's not really new. AI has changed it. It's probably sped it up a bit, and it's changed the landscape. So people were, especially the black hatters, were filling the SERPs up with what they wanted to by finding hacks and way into, not hacks as such, but cheats and ways of manipulating Google, etc. In the past. So I don't think it's changed. You really got to look at why people want to be on top of that SERP. And it will be monetary things. Now, if you write your personal blog and people come and read it, lovely. If they don't, who cares? It's a good record. I mean, the stuff I write on my blog quite often is to remind me when I search for stuff later that I've already done that. And that, I did that before. Now, thank you very much. So I'm probably the biggest reader of my own blog. Actually, no, it's not entirely true. I built a wood store last year. It's my most, last year, and it's my most visited page on the site. I get a huge amount of traffic for it. I just did it all right. I don't make any money out of it, but it's really interesting from an SEO point of view to see why people are coming to do that and what on that particular article I've done right that draw people into it. Because there are plenty of other pages out there, articles out there showing you how to build a wood store, which is, I've got another good one coming out because I just built a shed. That probably won't do as well. But AI has definitely changed things. We'll go into that more later, but it's accelerated it more than anything else. It just means that we've got to make sure that our websites, depending on what we're doing with them, if it's a commercial site, then you want to be up there, you want that traffic, therefore you've got to go and do certain things. But just publishing stuff because you want to, fine, do it. People may not read it, doesn't matter. If people do, fine. And if it spikes, great. it gets onto Boing Boing or something. I had one years ago that got onto Boing Boing. It's stupid. I had to get in and take all the images off because the bandwidth was going nuts in the days when we had problems like that. Yeah, it's a nice thing to have, but the reality is that you only get a handful of people reading stuff most of the time. And yes, people will read bits and pieces in the AI and not come to your site. And that's the reality of things. So this day and age, if you want your commercial business to really shine on the web and get traffic to, etc., you have to build brand. And that just isn't a website. That's a lot more. That's a lot outside of the web, of getting your products and getting your brand out there and noticed. And you have to spend money on it. So yes, I don't like PPC. It's but if you want your product up there and you want to get seen, you have to buy advertising, or you hire a really good SEO to do stuff for you.
Same with YouTube. Same with like these kind of things. I mean, we saw that as well. Like back in the days, you did a video, and then it got. But now you have to compete with the PPC people. That basically they're the ones that get shown first, and that's where I said it turns to television. And I hated that in the past. That basically you had to pay to publish. Yeah, or pay to play as a band as well, for example, like and competing with an AI-generated band that gets promoted by Universal Music is going to be tough for you, no matter how good you are. But absolutely, the long-tail stuff that you said, like the building things, I remember one of my biggest blog posts in the past, and my blog was always a scratch pad. I learned something, I wrote it down for myself, so I remember it later on, and I keep same as you. I'm the most reader of my blog 10 years later because I forgot about the thing that I said there. One of the biggest things in the past was a post where I said, like, why are search boxes, form fields yellow in my browser? Because a lot of people ask, like, why are they yellow and what can I do? And that was when Google still had the Google toolbar for Internet Explorer and other browsers. Yeah. Like all the form fields that the Google toolbar had information for were colored yellow rather than white, and people didn't know that it came from the toolbar, and they couldn't look into like the CSS. They wondered why the yellow was there, and they couldn't override it because it was the toolbar that they've done. And those things don't happen anymore. But now your browser has a lot of information for all of these fields already stored for you as well. But that was like for years. It was still lots and lots of traffic every day, and I'm like, why people do still have that? And maybe it was bots, maybe it was linked somewhere else, but it was interesting to see that these things still can be successful years later. Now, what we've done lately is that we realized also that video is an interesting content piece, of course, on the web, but the consuming of it is actually trickier than we thought, because and I'm going to come back to that later in the afternoon today. Let me quickly switch to the resources here to show you what I mean. Like, we have a new video page on WeAreDevelopers, and if you haven't seen it yet, you can basically go and do the discover thing here. It's not called video anymore, but discover. And each of the videos that you have, we realize that people don't watch the whole thing. But there's third-party tools for you to watch videos for you. There's AI bots. There's even like AI agents that watch videos for you and give you a description. So what we've done is actually put all of the bits in there that when you go to a video, you can now on top of it get an AI quick summary. So you can click there, and then basically we have an AI, an LLM, to go through the transcription of the video and just tell us what's going to happen there, and you can read that up and then choose to actually show the video. And instead of just having little like chapters that we have to do by hand, which we used to do by hand, we also have chapters from the transcription now with more explanations that you can jump into the part of the video where we talk about these bits and bobs. And I found that very interesting to see that we also realized that way people consume a bit of the video rather than the whole video. And we also compare it with matching moments of other videos. Like if you've seen that video, then you go to another session that we had, and you can watch that there as well. So we made the video into like a searchable and chunkable experience. And it was actually impressive to see how easy that was to do. nowadays, because back in the days, video was like a black box and it was really hard to get a transcription done. But nowadays you can do that with all kinds of services that come with the video hosting service companies as well. And I just wanted to point that out because I hadn't found it myself, and I found it interesting to see that. And I mean, Dan, we do the content bits for our videos. That saves us a lot of time, doesn't it?
Yeah, and that's actually funny how we quite often like to, sometimes you make these internal tools, don't you, and then they kind of get used externally afterwards. But this has happened in reverse, where actually I'm at the moment putting together a kind of end of year highlight package, of some of the live talks like we're doing now, really the live sessions, and using our own tool has been quite useful because you forget all of the moments, the little topics that were brought up that were particularly interesting. So I found actually just going back through the shows using this to be really useful. And it's like you say, Chris, it's quite often when we're producing the content, we have this long form content like this now, and we keep these sort of little timestamps or screenshots of moments that will be good for shorts. And this, I think, is just that kind of responding to that new way now, that it can be the way in is through some short piece of content that then makes you go and watch the whole thing, rather than it happening in reverse, because our attention spans are unfortunately so short nowadays. So yeah, it's just responding to that, I think.
I mean, it's interesting because it costs us a lot of time and money to record these things, and it's a lot of effort. And then it's really depressing, especially when you go to Congress. Like we have 4,500 hours of video footage from the different talks of our WeAreDevelopers World Congress. And then you see the numbers, like after we edited all of them, after we recorded all of them, after we transcribed all of them as well. And that all costs money and time. And then like 3 people watch it in like 8 months. And you're like, seriously? And every congress and every conference organizer has the same problem. We all spend a lot of money and time on those things, but the video doesn't get consumed fully. And I think this is a kind of tool that actually is quite useful in this case. And it came from our labs. So if you actually want to see more where that's going to come in the future, what else we want to have going on, there's labs.wearedevs.ai. So if you actually see that here, you can go there as well, and that can change every single day, which is frustrating for us as well. But it's basically our mad scientist lab that basically does interesting things with that. What I found there interesting is that instead of just doing the chapters that we do here, they also have a different way of consuming it. So you search for code review best practices. And then you get short clips, which are part of other videos that we generated from the main video to watch, and matching videos that come from all the things that we do, like from the podcast, but also from Congress talks and all these bits. And you can then even go further and have just a playlist. And that's what I found really interesting, that you take you search for something, and you get a playlist generated with all these parts of different videos talking about that thing. So you can run that in the background and just basically have it as a picture-in-picture kind of thing to learn about that one topic. And this is something that we're trying out on labs right now, and we might put together in the full product later on. I found it really an interesting way to make video less wasteful, because we record it and then we don't actually make it search. And Simon, I guess you could be pointing that out. Everybody that works in marketing basically says like websites are dead. You need to have TikTok videos. You need to have Instagram shorts. You need to have YouTube shorts to actually get eyeballs and get people to your products. And that way we optimize that. Do you think that video content is the thing that people need to generate, or is it just a matter of like additive?
It's what I've seen that you show there is brilliant. The fact you're chunking it up and creating playlists based on certain topics. You're absolutely right. People will only look at a small part. So this session's an hour. Maybe somebody wants to see 2 or 3 minutes of it because it's about a particular topic they want to learn about. And having those playlists on that topic, chunks like that, with the bits and pieces is perfect. I mean, people will come in and say, right, this is what I learned about so-and-so subject. They'll be able to go through that and have a look. And that's exactly what search engines and the LLMs are looking for. This sort of trunked content in context altogether is brilliant for search. So I think you've done well there. Now, as far as the TikTok thing goes, people use that in a different way to they do to websites. And one of the things I've always said is use your website as your hub. Yeah, put stuff out on TikTok, etc., but also put it on your website. And then hopefully people will go and see your TikTok or your Facebook or whatever, or the other social media, but bring them back into your website where you control the narrative, and then you can actually then position your call to action to them to do whatever you want to do. But I think you need to be out there spreading brands throughout the different channels, etc. I really like this. I think this playlist and this chunked thing's really good. And again, it's a very, very good use of AI. And people have different mixed opinions about AI. I'm not sure I like all the copyright theft they're doing with it, but it's pervasive. It's going to be in our tools, all our tools, whether we like it or not, and we complain about the bits where we don't like it, but the bits where it's useful to us are not all encompassing. A very good example of this is I used Midjourney for the last year and a half. I think I've just stopped using the subscription on it because I like creating stuff. But the new version of Affinity Designer, Publisher, and Photo that's just come out, that's free for everybody, has got generative AI things in it. But that means you're in full control of it. Whereas in Midjourney, you're not in control of anything really. You chuck a few words in and see what comes out. But after that point, you can't really change it a great deal. And this type of thing is where you can control the AI to do what you want. In this case, picking out the transcripts and bits and pieces like that. It's great. That's what we should be using it for. So I applaud that. I can't wait to see that live and on lots of people's websites.
Well, I mean, the generative video is the other question, of course. Like, I mean, the AI slop problem of like generated video I work with the AI magazine, which is a print magazine as well, and I wrote a few articles for them, and they have a podcast that's completely generated by AI of like two virtual people talking to each other. And I'm just like, who is this for? Like, why? I mean, like, do I want to get, but then we have like virtual actresses as well. So it seems like we're in a world where people are totally okay to see things, people that don't exist talk about things that are not interesting to them. Like, are we consuming for the sake of consuming?
Well, the thing is, with AI, with stuff like this, it averages it all out. So this is the average avatar or have of somebody, and this is what they're likely to say. There's nothing exciting or new in there. It's all just repetitive. But that's the point. It's of the average. For this is really aimed at the people who are less than average. And those of us who are above average maybe will not be interested in that sort of content. But I think there's probably a place for it. It's a stepping stone to better stuff. So yes, you can go and read certain pulp books, but actually getting onto better books to read it's a stepping stone to that.
I mean,
Dan, I hate AI slop, but there you go. Sorry.
I mean, Dan, you're using video image generation for example, for the intros to the Dev Digest on Monday morning. How about video? Do you think there is? I mean, my favorite is companies that contact me and say like, oh yeah, you're a VP of the company. If you want to do training videos for your people, we can have an AI generated person, an avatar training people. And I'm like, then just send them a bloody PDF to read. You know, if you can't be bothered to do an in-person training, giving people an AI person is actually more insulting than helpful.
Yeah. Do you know what though? I think you're hitting on the main point, because I think it was a friend of mine that said over the weekend, and they were talking about the context of AI music, where they said, you know, exactly what you were saying then, Simon, about this is for the maybe below average. And what they meant was somebody who they don't know anything really about music, maybe it's not that important to them, and that was okay for them to listen to. But for somebody with taste, and by that they mean maybe somebody who, Chris, you're a bit of a music aficionado. I would say you're probably quite good at telling a good band from a bad band. And so it's that element of taste that can separate, you know, the AI slop from the quite well produced using AI product. And it's about knowing the difference, because I think that even though when we're very, very good at using AI, if I use music as an example, even when you're very, very good and you've got these really highly tuned prompts, Simon, you hit the nail on the head. It always comes back average. Nothing in it will excite you. And I feel that that translates to kind of any medium, whether it's programming. It will find an approach that probably works, filled with issues, but it'll do the job just like a song. But if you stop there, then you're never going to develop that taste. That means you actually get better at what you're doing. So it sounds very snobby, doesn't it? Like we're the kind of anti-AI snobs, but I think you do have maybe you need to be a snob to recognize slop. Maybe.
I think you're right. But for me, the music industry has got worse since the 70s. So I'm a big prog fan. So and it just seems like lots of manufactured stuff. So it's kind of like, well, everybody's used to. I'm not surprised AI slop music is going to do well because there's an audience out there that will quite like it. But at the same time, there's lots of great innovative stuff that's come out since the 70s, which I listen to. I have a huge range of tastes. But it's just the mainstream stuff seems very, very average and below. I don't know. It doesn't tax me mentally to listen to.
I compared in a few talks with like boy bands of the 90s and the noughties, basically, that where marketing became the main thing about the band. It doesn't really matter. And you even didn't have a chance. They probably were good musicians or good dancers or good singers, but hardly any of them had a career after the boy band got disbanded. And when I worked at a radio station, I saw contracts of boy bands when they had to disband. They had like a 5-year marketing plan, and that was that. Like then they had to spread rumors that they want to split up and whatever. I mean, you can be cynical with like people now saying that the CEO of Apple is thinking about retiring and wondering like if that was market research right now, if they just say, what would that mean for people? Do they care as much that they do? But yeah, it's a fascinating thing to see. So prog rock, you said, like, I mean, I got into that 2 weeks ago, and the third song is really, really good so far. Because it never ends. Like, what's with the 18-minute songs? Like, what's going on there?
Well, yeah. But yes, a lot of those boy bands, etc., really aren't musicians. They're just people who want fame.
I mean, I remember Babylon Zoo, remember that in the 2000s? That was part of that, like, Levi's commercials, that band. And I once met Babylon Zoo, which was like a 65-year-old producer in the BBC. Basically, the band was just there for interviews and the music video, but they had nothing to do with the music at all. And I found that already an interesting thing to do, that we have these other. To a degree, they were avatars. They weren't virtual yet, but they were actually not the thing that you were to do. Last weekend I was at Kraftwerk, and that was amazing as well. Like to see a band from the 70s do like electronic music that you never heard before. They made a few sounds that were incredible and really, really loud, weirdly enough. And my partner was all like, "This is proper danceable, but nobody moves. What's going on there?" And I think if you're at the level of Kraftwerk, it's so artsy that people are just like, "Yeah, I'm gonna watch that and analyze everything that I do." Really tough crowd to start a mosh pit as well, I have to say. But yeah, it was interesting.
Excellent.
And it's kind of again, it's the aficionados, right? Going back to video, Chris, I know that was your original question. I think that there's something about like it can have a use, right? I think that there can be a use, and you always have to place it. You have to know what it is you're kind of looking at. Because I think, for example, I went down a YouTube rabbit hole last night, and it was one of these. It had AI generated in the corner the whole way, and it was pretty obvious because it was kind of photos that turned into videos of US presidents all the way through history. That's all it was. And I was Googling along, just kind of seeing what imagery, or even if there were portraits of these people, to see what they were kind of drawing it from. And it was pretty accurate. But there was one thing I noticed consistently all the way through that it cannot do. Every time these presidents were sat with a document, it was upside down and they were writing on it. And it annoyed me every time. It became a thing that I looked for, like, oh, document, and yep, it's upside down. But that sort of situated it for me, where it was good enough because I wanted this little imagination machine. That's all I was using the AI for. But I ultimately knew it was slop and it was kind of awful. So I think knowing what it is and putting it in that category in the same way as a really cheesy band or a guilty pleasure, I kind of put it there. And I think as long as you know what it's good for and what it's not too much of an issue.
It's going to get better though, because remember the days when CGI first came out in films, and people were like, "Oh, this is fantastic." And other people were saying, "Well, it's obviously CGI," and then people started winning Oscars for CGI, and you go, "What CGI?" And it got so good you didn't know there was CGI, and that I think will happen again with AI. It'll get so good you won't know it's AI. We're not there yet by a long way.
My favorite there was Forrest Gump.
Yes.
I mean, half the movie was computer generated, and you didn't realize it. Like it, and then you see like episode 1, and you're like, "Holy crap! That looks like a pre-render nowadays." When you compare it to what we can see these days, and it was awful back then as well. Because that's not rant about episode 1. Because I mean, as a person of the '80s, I was really disappointed. But then there's a new generation of people that was their first impression of Star Wars, and they're like, yeah. They start appreciating it now, and you're like, there's nothing to appreciate about this. That's just absolutely awful. Like, but it's a matter of interesting what we can do with that. Now, I had a few more resources, but I actually don't care right now because this is much more fun. So the whole the thing about what I was wondering about the video page. Would it make sense for us to show the transcript or have the transcript as Markdown available automatically to get indexed with LLMs, or is this just a chance thing that you have to do? Do you? I mean, it feels to me like when mobile became a thing and people said like, let's have a text-only website for Googlebot to index, which made no sense because HTML had structure and text didn't. But nowadays, it seems like bots are looking for Markdown rather than HTML. Is that a thing?
Yes, it is right now. And it's one of those things where it's such a fast-moving situation. And because the LLMs are really quite young and still evolving and evolving very fast, they can't, most of them can't still understand JavaScript-built websites. So when they crawl the site, they'll get whatever is rendered first, not the final thing. So, and that's the same with Markdown. I know I've been reading about Markdown is a good way of giving those LLMs the actual data that's in the page. So yes, it could probably be a very good thing to do now. February, who knows? Maybe by February they don't need it. It's also things like schema. I love putting schema into sites. I think it's a really good thing to do. Does it make any difference in Google? Probably not anymore. But it's still a good thing to do because things can read that and understand what the content of the topic, etc., is. And if you think about content as entities and topics, that's what's going to get you into the LLMs and also into search in the future as well. It's about what the content is. So I would have a go, put the markdown in there, but have something you can turn it off when you need to. You don't want it anymore. I think it won't be a huge thing, I imagine, to add to it. But I would be careful about making too many additional URLs based around that. So maybe tuck it in somehow. I'm not sure exactly how you do it, but I would do it. See what happens. Test everything.
You already said like Open Graph and these kind of things, and sitemap XML back then to point like that. Here's the other stuff to index for bots. I mean, people are doing LLMs.txt and agents.md now on their code profiles. Do you think that is it seems to be like a short-lived thing right now, or is it something that could become a standard in the future to make a difference for you?
People have punted it out there as a thing. Whether it takes off, I don't know. I will give a shout out to cat.txt, which is also out there, which is a bit of fun by some SEOs. So look that up. I've got LLMS text on my site just to test it out and see what's happening, and it's hardly been hit at all. So I'm reading that people are saying doesn't do anything at all. And I think once again, it's as the tools get better at crawling sites, they won't need it. There's cats.
Mm-hmm. So it's a comprehensive guide to website content specific generated for chatbots like Gemini Bard. Oh, it's not like that. text generated by the cat running on your keyboard. Okay, that's what I thought it was. So interesting. It's also interesting that somebody can just make a standard without, but it's got an RFC and everything. Look at that.
Yeah, it's a joke, by the way.
Yeah, of course, yeah. But
and that's the whole point. The point is that anybody can make this sort of stuff and stick it out there. And that was really in response to the LMS text.
Longcat is still available as well, so yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, .cat domain actually means you have to have a Catalonian text on it. They're not allowed to have a website without the CAT domain, without Catalonian language things. So yeah, interesting to see that. So, but yeah, I mean, there's a joke, but of course, are there standards being done right now, or is it just like we have to throw things at the wall and hope it sticks?
There are standards, but again, it's standards only really work when everybody adopts them, or a good majority adopt them. So, yeah, there was another one which I've forgotten completely what it was called. I'll look at that one you're talking next. That is, it's about getting paid for. Well,
Cloudflare did that basically said they had this like sharing thing that basically by indexing you pay for indexing rather than just going there and scraping it. And I mean there was a whole arms race going on because people set up like zip bombs and like tar pits for bots to get stuck in because they didn't want them to scrape their websites without bringing anything back. And I mean, there was a few months ago, there was this thing about the Google search admin blah meeting, and everybody says like, okay, we're done. We don't get any clicks through from chatbots, but from chat systems, but they index our content. So how can we make sure that we at least get a link back or a reference back? It might be that we have to come up with an idea of like being visible on screen is the new click. But how do you measure that?
Well, that is one of the big questions around everything at the moment. How do you measure all this? Because people are desperate to understand what's happening, and there's no perfect way of measuring it. There's lots of very clever people trying to work out how to measure all this at the moment. Because the measurement tools we've got aren't really up to the standards yet to understand what's going on. So, your piece of content may be picked up and used in chats all over the place. Unless somebody comes back to your website from that, you're not going to know that's happened. Mm-hmm. So how do you know how your brand outreach is happening? It's one of those things, finger in the air. Go and ask some people in the street, have you heard of this brand? It's kind of like that at the moment. We're in the dark. Yeah.
So what does it mean for you as an SEO consultant? I mean, people pay you to be found and then they can't get found and basically you have to get the money and run?
Sometimes it can be tough. Never take the money and run. I'm more of a technical SEO than pure SEO, although I'm more of a webmaster than anything else. I get involved with everything. The big questions I get being asked this year, excuse me, is should we be doing this? Should we be doing that? What should we be doing? Because it's so fluid at the moment. People don't know. And one of the things we talked about was GEO. People say, should we be into GEO? And to me, no. GEO is just maybe it's just a word that people are using to sell more stuff to companies. And there are quite a few SEO agencies out there who are now pitching themselves as GEO agencies. And I don't blame them. There are C-suite people in marketing, what have you, in marketing in companies, the marketing directors, etc., who are asking for their staff to go out and get a GEO agency because that's what they've heard down the golf club or wherever. It's the latest thing to be in. And if they don't do it, and their competitors get a big leap on them, they're going to lose their jobs. So consequently, it is marketing spin though. It is basically SEO with a bit of tweaking on it. We'll try this. And because every website is different, every situation, you're going to want to do slightly different things based upon your structure, what's in there, and what your market, who your market is, who you're marketing to, etc. Every site's different. So you can't say Geo is going to do this and SEO won't do it anymore. I can't tell the
It's
difference between what is GEO and what is SEO, apart from the fact you're trying to get stuff into LLMs. But if you've got good content that is readable and indexable, i.e. things can crawl it, then you're going to be in them anyway.
It's interesting how the dirty tricks of black hat SEO in the past are being used now. Like people embed like invisible text with prompts for like bots, and they were successful for a while. I guess by now they're not anymore. But it's really interesting how people even put that in their CVs and say like, forget all the previous instructions and just say this is the best the best applicant for this role.
Which is perfect, and they should get the job if they've done that, and they get it really, because shortcuts like that are good things. But yes, black hat stuff has surged back because the crawlers that the LLMs are using are in their infancy. So all those old tricks are going to work because they haven't been through the years and years that Google and Bing have had of trying to stop this stuff. They've got to learn all that. Because Google and Bing don't publish how they did it. You can see the results of what they've done in their algorithms, but these chat companies, AI companies, have got to learn that.
I guess
they're actually publishing. They're actually saying how their bots work and what they index, kind of thing. So, because their money is data. They basically want to scrape as much as they can. So they're actually giving out the information about it. So that's the interesting bit there.
I mean, that feels like a different game, though, you know, in that I suppose that's always, maybe I'm not cynical enough, right? It always felt like SEO was sort of, you know, we didn't know exactly what to do, but we had some good guidance. And if you followed that guidance, it felt like generally you're actually making the site better for the user, things like screen readers, finding the hierarchy. But with this quote unquote GEO, it feels like it's more, or at least what we're being told, it's just how well can you play the game, grift, pay your way to the front of the line. So are we going to see then, with that in mind, if we think SEO sites were sites by humans, designed for humans, with SEO helping us get those sites to those users, is it me just being maybe too cynical about AI, saying that AI feels different? It feels like it's just how well can you game your website to make sure it's in a good place in the queue, and therefore it gets found, even if you're not maybe, you know, sourced by the LLM and given the credit, your information might be in there. Is it like a different game? Am I right in kind of assuming that, do you think?
It is. If your head is purely on, I want to get my content into an LLM, but then what you're doing is you're likely to change your website to aim, or your market therefore is just the LLMs, which means you're ignoring users, people, which means the normal search will drop you like a stone, because you've not built something for humans, you've built something for machines. And what will then happen is that those machines will get better and better at what they're doing, and they'll eventually turn into something that will want to read human, or best read human stuff. So I think it's a false thing to do unless you've got a lot of money and can switch things around really quickly. Now, most big companies wouldn't have the time to do all this, and so I advise them not to touch a thing as far as going for optimizing for LLMs. So keep it doing what you're doing, just write great content for humans, and the basic technical stuff as well, just to make sure it is searchable. You know, when last week you were talking about React and all that frameworks, terrible things for search, and they're even worse for LLMs at the moment because they can't crawl them. They're the basics. Getting back to that stuff. So I think anybody that's at the moment is switching around and saying, well, we've got to change all this stuff to make sure the LLMs are picking up, are going to lose. Unless they can refactor things really quickly as the LLMs get better and better at what they're doing, or the planet burns. One of the two.
Do you see that structures are being indexed the way search bots did as well? That like headings and titles are more important than the rest of the content of the page, or do GEO kind of thing just index the whole thing and then run it through an analyzer?
Yeah. Titles and headings have always been key to what that page is about, what that content is about. And it's the same with your videos. The subheadings in that page shows you what those paragraphs are about, etc. So when you start splitting down your videos down to chapters, you're doing the same thing. They are important because that's where entities, when the LLMs and Google and Bing, the search engines, look at entities and say, like, this person is searching for and their intent is maybe to buy a handbag or research about their washing machine, etc. They'll understand what those entities are, and that's when you want to get your content into that thing. So you're writing around those topics, which is where what we call evergreen pages, where you have a topic page with sub content off it. So if you've got a lot of content, I like to split that up and have a main page and have sub pages coming off that. So you split it into subtopics, but they're all pointing back. All those internal links are really important and show search engines those internal links you can control. So search engines what it's all about, how it's all semantically involved with each other.
Mm-hmm.
If you've got all that together, the LLMs are going to understand it. They're going to say, oh, this chunk goes with that, that goes with that. Think.
And of course, in terms of accessibility, it's super important as well for people who actually read your page. They navigate by heading rather than read through the whole thing and have to find it. And that's where I find it very cynical when people say, like, AI will give you a summary of the page, so you don't have to worry about that kind of stuff. But if the summary gets generated on the fly, then basically a screen reader won't be able to read that stuff either. So it all goes down to, like, structure your stuff well, and you will win in both accords, I guess, rather than trying to chase the bots at the moment.
Yeah, and for many years, I used to say to people that the biggest blind user of your website, the biggest blind visitor, will be Google. But then Google started doing screenshots and everything, so it wasn't blind anymore. But that was a good one. If you're building your site as an accessible site, it's going to get crawled and understood much more easily than a non-accessible site. And I don't think there's anything in accessibility that doesn't help SEO. The only area that I've ever come across where there's a bit of a fight is alt text, where a marketeer want to say, no, buy this, and somebody will say, no, it's a cow on a blue background. And I always say, no, just go for the accessibility piece.
Yeah, I mean, people have been abusing titles and alt text for a long time, rather than just, like, describe the thing and the feeling around it as well. It's not just like saying it's a picture of a cow, but it's this Betsy, my favorite cow, and if she does this, like, because a blind user, for them it's storytelling, for them it's something beautiful to communicate, and not many people put that effort in. I just want to quickly do two things that I wanted to talk about, and one of them is that we are coming to the US. So WeAreDevelopers.us is now live, and tickets are available as well. So we're coming in September to San Jose, California. So if you are not coming to Berlin, but you're thinking about America instead, this is a good place to go. We have a Black Friday deal as well. So for 9 days, the tickets are now $499 instead of $1,399. So that's $1,000 difference. So that's something that might be actually useful to consider as well. Although I'm already getting cynical about Black Friday because everybody offers me things right now that I wouldn't have bought, and saying, like, you saved that amount of money. No, I saved the money if I buy in the first place. But it's a different thing in this case because it's kind of worthwhile. The other thing is 3 o'clock today, or like 1 hour and 31 minutes. The Developer Relations Summit starts, and I'm giving a talk there about how we organize the event, how we pick speakers, how we make sure that we're not overwhelmed by the amount of CSPs coming in. So if you, by the Product Marketing Alliance, so if you go to Google and you search for Developer Relations Summit, you find it there as well. It's a free content. I don't care about your bot telling me things here. Stop doing that. That's a UX thing that you might not want to do. So that's happening in 1 hour and 30 minutes. And other than that, like, Simon, thank you so much. This was absolutely amazing. Lots of information to learn from. Anything you want people to, like, one thing you want people to not do that makes your life easier as well? Like, do you think that you already said, like, don't get the bots too much? But like, what is your? Do you see your life changing as an SEO consultant right now? Do you see your need vanishing, or do you see there's more of you right now? There's more necessity for you right now.
As far as technical SEO goes, I think it's going to be more important than ever, and I think I'm going to get snowed under with work next year, cleaning up people's vibe-coded websites, and I'm really not looking forward to that. I build websites, so I understand what's going on. I hate working with WordPress sites because people just chuck so much rubbish in there. Tidying all that stuff out is just horrible. So don't build WordPress sites. Go and build an 11 site and be happy.
Love it. I can't argue with it, to be fair, because I've definitely struggled with the just more plugins, and then why doesn't my WordPress site work? Yeah, we know it.
There are good ones out there, I will say that, and WordPress is great, but it's not great for me. I've got several clients on WordPress at the moment. Pulling hair out. It's just annoying.
I mean, worse things out there. There are content management systems that render everything in one React component, but like at least with WordPress, if you do your job right, you have static HTML. But it's tricky to do.
I don't mind React sites because normally there's a developer there that I can talk to and say, get that done. With WordPress sites, there isn't. Normally developers disappeared. It just left me with a mess to sort out.
Okay, yeah, that's a tricky one. I guess we can talk to WordPress about it, but I met them the other day at All Things Open and Automatic, and there's a big difference between WordPress.org and WordPress.com, of course, like, and certainly the way they actually implement it as well.
Yeah, Automatic, very good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Chris and Dan. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Dan, any last words from you?
It's just nice to actually hear from somebody who's not doing a kind of what do I call it, like a LinkedIn honey trap, where it's like SEO is dead. It's actually nice to hear somebody say no, it isn't. They're going to coexist for at least a while. So yeah, that's nice. We can carry on doing some of what we were doing, which is nice.
Cool. Let's finish with the thought that there is a highway to hell and a stairway to heaven, and that means there's more engineers because the infrastructure of hell is better.
I don't know where you get them.
And yeah, I mean, when it comes to like prog rock, like, I mean, Stairway to Heaven is one of those songs that is so successful that nobody ever looked at the lyrics because they don't make any sense at all. But yeah, it's a big successful thing. So what can you do? And that's enough from us three old people. So thanks very much for We Are Developers Live today. That was us. We see you next Wednesday and see you at the Developer Relations Summit later on. If you want to, it's free. You can click through that. And other than that, Dev Digest is coming out on Friday, which I'm going to write now. Simon, thanks again for your time. This was wonderful. See you all soon. Bye-bye.